Hey, Don.
Hey, Jacob.
Can we go? I'm very tired.
But what about our celebration exit?
But we could photograph one.
We could.
What do you mean celebration exits?
Okay, so a lot of weddings will have a big send-off at the end of the night.
Big
send-off. And it could be a number of things. Be sparklers, bubbles, LED wands, ribbons, lightsabers.
Lightsabers?
It could be anything.
Anything.
Mm-hmm. Clapping.
That's the classy. So, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about how to shoot them, how to prepare for them as if you're the client?
All of the above.
Ooh, all right.
All of the above. And I know we've lightly touched on sparklers before when we talked about photographing fireworks. Yeah. But this will be from the perspective of you want to have a celebration exit at the end of the event, and here are all your options and what you can do to make them successful.
Correct. And then how we photograph them too. Mm-hmm. End result, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll show some along the way. Who knows?
Hey, maybe.
All right. So how do you want to start this?
I mean, we should just start with sparklers.
Sparklers.
Because it's the most popular still for venues where they're allowed.
Daytime or nighttime?
I've done them. We've done them.
On daytime.
Daytime.
And it totally worked.
It was an hour before.
Okay, so tip number 1, sparklers. Nighttime. Perfect.
Do them once it's dark. No, the reason we did it early was because the party just needed to end.
Yeah.
And the sun just hadn't quite gone down yet. But the party was over.
The party was over.
Mm-hmm.
So sparklers.
Mm-hmm.
So traditionally, what do? You line them up in 2 lines,
mm-hmm.
and the couple will walk through the sparklers, or people holding them up,
mm-hmm.
maybe get a kiss, maybe a dip,
mm-hmm.
and then they'll walk into their great future.
Yes. So most important thing, if you're planning a sparkler exit, is to buy long sparklers.
Oh my God, please.
Do not go cheap with 6-inch sparklers because they will only burn for 20 seconds. Mm. And now I know that we've talked about sparklers before because you tried to make the same joke.
I'm trying so hard. First out, there's nothing wrong with 6 inches. Okay? Seems like a normal size sparkler. But for these, we're looking for the big ones.
Yes. You need the longer ones.
And for a couple of reasons. One, when you light them, and we'll get into how to light them
mm-hmm.
and when to light them, but they do burn fast. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we need to light 100 people, mm-hmm. so we need those longer ones even before the couples even come out. We need to get them all lit.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yes. And with getting them all lit, you really need to have that job assigned to sober people, preferably a professional.
Coordinator.
Your coordinator team, the venue staff, which a lot of venues, they have to do it.
Correct.
Or they want to control it for liability reasons and stuff. But it can't be an ad hoc.
Drunk uncle.
Yeah. And it can't be your bridesmaid that's coordinating everything. It's too much.
Yep.
And it's a lot to put on someone, especially if they were also enjoying themselves at the party.
Do you, and also, so when you light them, let's just go right into it.
Okay.
1 lighter?
Okay, so ideally, in a perfect world, you would line everybody up in 2 lines facing each other with 10 feet apart, maybe. And
I'd say there's 35 people on each side.
Okay, so ideally,
night,
you would
70
have
people.
4 lighters, but at least 2.
Yeah.
And what you can do is have the 2 people with the lighters, or 4, start in different sections and light the person on the end and tell them to light their neighbor. So when you just touch the 2 sparklers together, they ignite, and then you can keep going down the line. But if you have a really long line, if you have 4 people where they can start at both ends lighting and then moving into the middle, just so they don't, the first ones you light aren't already burned through before the couple even gets to come.
Correct. And that sounds dumb, but make sure you have enough sparklers for everyone.
Yes.
And buy extra, because some just won't light.
Yeah, some are just duds.
So if you have 70 people and you buy 70 sparklers, you should be buying at least 100. Mm-hmm. Lighter, I totally recommend the little torch lighters compared to the lighters you would light your stove with or your birthday candles, because they just take forever. They don't get hot enough a lot of times for the sparkler. Mm-hmm. So if
And
you,
definitely not matches.
No.
I've had people try to light the sparklers with matches.
but yeah, those little torch lighters, they can light them fast.
The other thing you want to think about, if your venue or if you're like just rented an Airbnb or something, or it's not the venue running things, make sure you have somewhere to put the finished sparklers, like a metal bucket of water that everyone can toss them in. Because you don't want to just like toss them on the ground while they're still burning.
I've never seen a fire. I've seen videos of fires by sparklers, but I've never seen one in person.
neither.
But I've seen some close calls.
Yeah.
Especially because you're mixing alcohol and sparklers
And hairspray.
and hairspray. Lots of hairspray.
Yeah. I have definitely been hit with sparklers because people won't get away from me. And the worst is when your line is so long and they actually have a send-off vehicle to where the line goes all the way to the vehicle.
So you can't get out of there.
My back is to the Hummer or whatever they have, and I'm like, oh, please.
Of all the cars, it's the Hummer.
That was the one I was thinking of. That's what they had.
Just interesting what you had in your head.
They had one of the like Hummer stretch limos.
So, though, you have the big sparklers, right? Those usually last a while.
Yeah, like 2 minutes maybe.
Do you like to do it like a couple of times if you have the time, or do you like to just be done with it?
I go with how things are going.
Fair.
So if I know that I got what I needed, they did a nice dip in the middle, or they stopped and cheered, or they kissed, or whatever, and they ran through. If I got what I needed, I just let it go, because a lot of times they're ready for the night to be over.
They're not listening to you anyway.
No, the only time I do it again is if like I didn't get it.
Sometimes it's awkward though. Say they don't have a vehicle, it's just an exit, but then they're going back to like clean up themselves too because it's like a barn somewhere. So sometimes just to like make it awkward, I'll be like, run back this way. And then they run back into the venue because they're not actually leaving. But
I'll sometimes grab a couple sparklers if they're still good. Like if they're mostly lit still, I'll grab a couple and give them to the wedding couple and have them like
do stuff.
Do something, hold them while they kiss, whatever.
Do you care about who's where in the two lines?
It's another thing. It's like I pick my battles, and sometimes it's not worth the stress.
Yeah. Right? Because you want the parents and the bridesmaids and the groomsmen.
Yeah, ideally they would be closest to where the couple's going to stop and kiss, but sometimes corralling people at that stage in the event is not.
If you try to corral 100 drunk people at 9:58 at night with lighted sparkler fireworks, you get what you get. Yeah. I usually don't try. Sometimes the coordinator will, and I'll be like, absolutely. Or if mom's like, well, I want to be here, I go, absolutely, but I don't.
Yeah, but sometimes, too, the coordinators put the parents, like, right next to me. Yeah. That's not in my picture. No, like, just their like, the edge of their sparkler might be in my shot, but they're probably not in the picture. So, really, I need them, like, 2/3 of the way down the line. Yeah. Because that's where I ask the couples to stop.
Not middle, 2/3.
Yeah. So, I have more sparklers behind them than in front of them. But, yeah.
I used to try and get people when I was young and bold to, like, in the back, be like, hey, could you, like, close in so you have that look? But again, trying to get drunk people to do that, I just let it go now. Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of times they're like hostile at that point. And I don't want to engage.
We all just want to go home.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Without being burnt.
Yeah.
Repeatedly.
So how do you shoot your sparkler exits?
I'd like to say that I do the same thing every time, but I swear I change it up every time. A lot of times it depends on the background. I love a non-colored flash behind them, a backlight, usually. Especially if it's coming through, like, I don't know, some barns have those really cool glass doors. I don't know, I just love the look. It's got to be exact, though, and it's tough if you're by yourself on some weddings to get it exactly, because they'll dip, and then you're just getting...
Yep. It's a dicey thing.
It is a dicey thing, so I don't always do it. It has to be the right situation, but when it's done right, it looks good.
I will sometimes instead do like a rim light up really, really, really high and tilt it down, so that it's not going to get in my shot.
But then I hate putting light stands behind
in the dark,
and in the dark against all those people who are gonna back up. I've done that too, but
yeah, I'll only do it if it's like a barn space where I can have my light like behind some trees or something, and it's out of the path, like out of the walking path. Like the cars are behind me and the light is back the other way.
There's a new barn in St. Cloud that I shot at, like, I don't know, probably 4 months ago. And you come out of their barn and then you take an immediate left. So when I shoot it, like the barn's actually on your right and there's forest behind you. And they built it kind of on a hill. So like there's a retaining wall. And I was able to put my light behind the retaining wall. But it's like, so it's probably like this high off the ground. But that means it's going to be blocked. I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And no one goes over there. So my light was safe. Obviously, I use an on-camera flash as well because I just need to light them. And every once in a while, again, it depends on the venue, depends on how drunk they are. I would do the same thing where I'll have a light high, like a main light, that will be right on that 2/3 spot to hit them perfectly. But I don't always use it too because sometimes it causes shadows. If people are too much, sometimes there's not enough room. I swear every time a sparkler exit, I do something different.
You walk with the couple though, right?
I do.
Yeah. I
like walking. I like that shot.
Okay. I'm clumsy.
You are.
And I don't trust myself. Because there's too many other variables, I don't trust myself to walk backwards and not get hit by a sparkler.
Well, I'm a professional, so I will start with them like right at the doors or whatever they're exiting from, and I will do like, and I've already told them this, and I'll walk with them, boom, 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 and then I run. Because usually if there's another photographer or videographer, I tell them like, hey, I just want this spot, and then I'm done. Like they're not even a quarter of the way down yet, and I've already run to there, and then I let them walk, stop, kiss, dip, whatever it's going to be.
Okay, so how do you get your couple to stop where you want them to stop?
One, I tell them, which doesn't matter. They didn't hear it.
Nope, in one ear, out the other.
I've told them where I want them to stop. I have told them I'm going to tell them to stop. And then I start telling them to stop about 10 feet, not 10 feet, maybe 5 steps before where I actually need them to stop.
Yeah. And I also sometimes, if I know, like, let's say some of the wedding party is like right where I want them to stop and they're still with it enough to listen, I will tell them, like, when the couple gets in front of you, yell at them to stop. In addition to everything you just said. And then occasionally they stop. But a lot of times they want to come all the way to the end until they're right on top of me.
And I've told them, I was like, just listen to my voice. You're not going to stop at me. You're going to stop about, I'll say halfway, but just listen. And I get it. Everyone's having a good time.
Yeah.
It's the end of the night. I'm not expecting them to like be, but it's still.
Yeah. And we try to keep our instructions very simple.
Yeah.
Like, I really only tell them, like, stop in this area. I normally say, like, when you're, 2/3 of the way through the line, stop. You'll hear me yelling for you to stop. And then do whatever you want. Hug, kiss, cheer, dip. You pick. I'm not giving you, like, the thing you have to do.
I need to see proof of dip before I tell. Like, they've had to show me that they've dipped earlier in the day. On the exit of the ceremony, the recessional, first dance.
I still have dips that have fallen on the sparkler exit.
Of course, but I'm saying, like, I would never even mention a dip unless they have proven.
Yeah.
Because I've done it before. It's like, remember that dip you guys did there? It was so good. Do that again. And that's good. But I would only, again, they have to show proof of concept. They have to earn that trust before I'm going to give them.
Even plant the idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else about sparklers, like sparkler specific?
Just don't light each other on fire. Be safe. The love of God.
Please.
I did have a child burned once, though.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that was, and I was like, I'm going to go home now.
Yeah. No fun.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like bubbles can be a fairly similar scenario to sparklers with a few changes.
Nighttime bubbles, daytime bubbles.
I shoot them the same way, but you could do either.
It's true. We'll start with daytime bubbles. So bubbles are usually like I tend to find bubbles a lot of time at daytime more than nighttime. Not mean they haven't, but usually it's a place where you're having a daytime wedding, or if you've been married at Disney doesn't really do exits from your reception. You're not allowed to do sparklers. You can do exits, like you can have cheer if you get in a car, but a lot of Disney weddings, they kind of end, or you're at somewhere like, say you have your reception at Italy Isola in Epcot. there's no exit because you have to get on a bus to go
Yeah.
back to your hotel.
Yeah.
So a lot of times they do the exits after the ceremony if you get married at the wedding pavilion, let's say. So they have that big bridge. It's a perfect spot. I know I'm boring you. So that's when you tend to see things like bubbles a lot.
Or flower petals.
Flower
We should have
petals.
put flower petals on our list.
It is. Don't worry.
Okay.
But bubbles, what are some of the challenges? Well, we already said it. Flower.
Petals. Okay, so a couple of things with bubbles, especially in the daytime. You cannot get those wimpy little
No.
those little things that blow out one bubble at a time. They're literally like tiny little cylinders, maybe a half an inch wide.
Yeah.
And you can only get one bubble out at a time.
You can't be in a test tube bubbles.
No, it just won't show up
Yeah.
at all. The wedding I did last week in Clearwater on the yacht Starship, they did bubbles as they exited from the ceremony, like for real. It wasn't staged. And the poor wedding coordinator was next to me, like trying to blow more bubbles in front of my camera because you couldn't see a single bubble. So I always recommend bubble guns or a bubble machine to supplement
With asterisks, though.
whatever your guests will be blowing.
Because bubble guns, though, and bubble machines can cause too many bubbles.
Yes, there has to be some control.
And I know, like, a lot of times bubble guns are given to, like, the kids.
Mm-hmm.
If there's, like, a ring bearer or flower girl. But sometimes they have too many bubbles, too. And they're always at the nearest the camera.
Yes, that's the problem. It needs to be further away from the camera so that it doesn't block
Yeah.
our
There's
pictures.
been plenty of times where I almost didn't get the photo of them. Why? Because there's so many bubbles. The camera can't focus. You
Yeah.
think, like, oh, you can see through bubbles. You can't.
I had a wedding
Camera
at the Wave in Lake Nona.
Yeah.
And we did an exit into that like statue garden in the back. And the best man, I think it was the groom's brother, had a bubble gun and he stood right next to me and he just went to the and the DJ, I don't know why, brought the speaker outside for the bubble exit. I was like, we don't need music for this. But because the music was so loud, the best man couldn't hear me telling him to stop, like slow down, slow down, slow down, like less bubbles, less bubbles. He couldn't hear that. So I literally did not get a single picture the whole way that the couple came down because it was just bubbles. You couldn't even see their faces. So we had to do it again, and the brother was very drunk, so they just like moved him away. They literally like took the gun away and like moved him so we could do it again. Which thankfully was bubbles and not sparklers, but
Correct. So I tend to like bubbles too, like more in the back. So I'd almost put the bubble guns like give me one, just give me some, like I want to see just a couple in front of them, but behind them, coming behind them looks great.
yes, agreed.
Nighttime bubbles,
Nighttime bubbles. Well,
because sometimes they don't show up at all though.
right.
It gets too dark.
I always use a rim light for bubbles. I'm still too scared to do a backlight because if I do a backlight, I have my modeling light on the backlight so I can see where it is and I can try to move myself so that the couple's always blocking it. But I tend to do, especially for bubbles, like up high rim light from the side so that the light catches like behind the bubbles to illuminate them.
Yeah. Because you really need to see edges of bubbles. They just disappear. And especially, again, places like that, they tend to be barns out in the middle of nowhere. There's no light. So you need something to light up them bubbles.
Yeah. Yeah, sparklers, the rim light is optional for me. Bubbles, it isn't.
Heard. But it's much safer.
It is.
And it's
It
funny
is.
watching people have heart attacks trying to blow little. And I go, and like, I'm always such a dick. I'm like, more. Watching these, if they don't have bubble guns, obviously. I'm like, I need more. And they're like,
They're trying so hard.
I know.
Well, I would say those are the top two types of exits we see, right?
Yeah.
Most often.
But I have seen, like, again, you start getting into some of the themed ones, so you get into lightsabers. Lightsabers are tough, and I'd say LED light. We've had LED, like, those wands. They're not wands, they're like...
They're like ribbons
Yeah.
almost, but they're LED strips.
So those are tough because, again, nighttime. But you have to be wide open or a little low shutter speed just for them to appear. But then they're going to be blurry as hell. So what do we do?
Hide? No. They're the hardest ones for me.
They are.
Because I have to use light of some sort to illuminate the couple because we're normally doing this in the dark. And when we say in the dark, when we're doing an exit outside of a barn, we mean
pitch black.
Pitch black.
There might be a light on the barn behind them, like one light.
But there's no lamp posts outside. No. Like we are in the dark. And then the second you introduce off-camera light or even your speed light, those LED wands or lightsabers, they just look like plastic hunks.
Yep.
I mean, the best you can do is like a double grid on your on-camera flash.
But even then,
and it's not perfect. I do a lot of Lightroom on those, to be honest.
You got to bring them down. Mm-hmm. Because again, if you want to get those LEDs, you could be at like 40th of a second for them to even show up. And you know what a 40th of a second does to people walking towards you. Mm-hmm. Even with flash, there's a good chance you can freeze them, but they're still going to be, I don't know, off.
A little bit.
That can still look cool. There are some cool looks of like that look of them looking and the lightsabers or the wands, like how they're not frozen, but it leaves that little spectral trail. Mm-hmm. So if that's your plan, that's great. But I also need to get one of them just actually like sharp too, just one.
Yeah, and that's when it's really important that they like stop and kiss, not even a dip, like a kiss that they can stop and hold.
Yeah.
So you can get a couple where at least they're still and it might be sharp and in focus. But I do a lot of editing on those. I mean, we both try to do almost everything in camera, but
I just can't.
It's a very hard combination to achieve. Again, I said this a few episodes ago. We're not working with models.
Yeah.
We're working with real people who've spent 8 hours getting ready for this wedding, enjoying the wedding, like
sweating.
Yeah, it's hard to give like precise directions.
I don't know what this reminds me of, but it has nothing to do with it, but it's kind of the same idea. So one time I had to do a photo shoot at Animal Kingdom at night. It was for like a convention, right? But they wanted family portraits and the Flame Tree Barbecue restaurant that's across the lake from Everest. So Everest was the background. Okay. So Everest needed to be lit up. And we're that far away and Everest is this big. But at night though, that even lit up, it's still at f5, it's still like 40th of a second with like 2000 ISO. Yep. So, and I didn't know this, what happened is, and since it was all in Flame Tree, they had the spots open, they brought in those giant, remember those LED lights? They have those circle, they're not LEDs, they're the giant circle lights so you can see where you're going, or they show where things are, like, hey, come here. Well, they put that right there.
Okay.
So right where the families should be, that light is on them. So now I can't.
Oh my gosh, so now you can't even.
Because if I open up, it's going to blow out the family. And I had to insert that. So I took a template, a stock of the Everest shot, and I had to drop that in every single family photo. Because, and you remember how those things are on a giant tripod, that steel tripod, and this big globe light blasting the yellowest orange light. But that's kind of the same idea here, where it's like you have two completely different light sources at two completely different exposures, and they don't work together. So you got to choose one and figure the other one out in post, honestly.
Yep.
And that's all I got to say about that.
It's actually kind of a good idea of like making the people wave the glow wands before the couple comes out and take that and then light the couple as they're coming and then just drop in.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, really.
Sure, if it wasn't freelance.
You just need. I know. We don't edit those jobs, so someone else could figure that out. But, I mean, really, you just want the one shot where they're kissing, dipping, cheering, whatever.
The 30 other ones are.
I just popped in my head the time where I had a couple, they fell twice before they got to me. And you're so, like, again, it's so dark, right? So I'm so focused on making sure my camera is focusing on them the whole time they're coming. Oh, that's something we should talk about. How do you help your camera focus in the dark?
Are you talking about right now?
Yeah.
Honestly, the best thing I ever made is the Godox on-camera flashes, the version 3s at this point that have the LED light on
the
it.
front.
Oh my God.
The thing is so bright.
It's a game changer though.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm so focused on like, okay, that light's on. I've got the modeling light on the 8200. I'm like so locked in making sure that every shot I'm taking as they're coming down is in focus. So I kept shooting and I kept catching every time they fell.
It's fantastic.
They were fine.
Yeah.
It was grass,
They're divorced.
but still.
Also with LEDs and lightsabers though, I have gone in certain places where they necessarily aren't exiting because it's the end of the night. They just want to do it. Try indoors too. If they have a great room that's already lit up with great uplighting and things like that, lightsabers look great in there already. And then you can control the light much better. So see if they'll be willing to do something like that as opposed to like, hey, do you want to go out in the dark with nothing in the background?
Right.
Or use your already kind of lit up room. Obviously with sparklers, you need to go outside. Bubbles, you should go outside. But
Right. But things like the ribbon wands or petals, those are good inside.
I did a wedding in the pavilion once where they did bubbles inside because it started raining. And they had way too many bubbles.
Oh, no.
And all those bubbles obviously fell to the centerpiece rug there. And when they were done, I think it was grandma or mom slipped. Like the rug had become like you could do a Tom Cruise slide on that rug. And mom just took one step and went whoop, like that. I was like, I gotta go. Coordinator, something happened over here. I gotta go.
Do you remember, I'm sure you'll remember when we had our episode with Steve and I mentioned the wedding I was second shooting and I left my camera in the hotel room?
Yeah.
So that same wedding, again, I was the second. So I was just like reading notes from the lead photographer. And it said they were doing a confetti popper during the first dance. And I was like, there's no way. You would never do a confetti cannon in the middle of the reception because that confetti has to get cleaned up immediately. That is a safety hazard.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who approved it. And I don't know what. They did not plan for it to be cleaned up. And so we did the first dance and toasts, I think, and then went straight into the meal. The entire length of the whole meal and 30 more minutes past the meal was spent with the duty manager, the event manager, all of these people running around trying to find someone to clean up the confetti. And when I say confetti cannons, I mean like filled the whole room with confetti,
What
right?
what a cool end of the night thing.
Exactly. And the first person that they got to come was from the standard janitorial staff with like a little 6-inch broom and like a little dustpan.
You see him just walk in like, what?
And the event manager was like, no, you can't stand in the room with that. Get a push broom. Like,
or don't do it then.
exactly. Like, I've never seen confettis. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've had one other event where it's been in the middle of the event, but I've never had it any other place where it's been in the middle of the event because it is a safety hazard. Like, it's a slipping concern.
Well, that kind of brings into exits though of petal cannons and confetti cannons, which we've all done too. So that means now you're dealing with the same things that you've dealt with before, but the couple has to hit a mark.
Yes.
Yikes.
And occasionally, I don't think you were with me. I think maybe it was Chris Weirdo with me. The one I had in
Shout
Tampa.
out Chris Weirdo.
It was a bat mitzvah. And the confetti cannon was supposed to go off during the hora. And so she went up in the chair and we're all waiting.
Yep.
Nothing happened. And so we're like, okay. Then they put mom in the chair, dad in the chair, the little sister in the chair. Then they put the bat mitzvah girl back in the chair. And I can see the DJ like fiddling with his cannon, trying to get it go up. Didn't go off. So
And then grandma walks by and it puts her in the face.
then we like we got back together and the DJ was like, okay, well, sorry, this is what happened, blah, blah. And so we're like, okay, we'll do the kids picture. And then when we do the kids picture at the end, we'll do the confetti. Did the kids picture, no freaking confetti. Then the family wanted to do a group picture, 125 people. So I've got 125 people crammed on the dance floor and the DJ then decides to do the confetti cannon, and the dad was in the front and jumped up immediately to face the cannon. So I don't actually have the group photo with the confetti. I have dad's butt with the confetti. but I don't have the group.
I hate all of this. Like, please stop.
I was like, the steam was coming out of my ears. Oh no, it was Chris Coleman. He was the one there.
Shout out Chris Coleman.
The other Chris. Anyways.
What a mess.
All right. Anything else you want to share about celebration send-offs?
You know, I thought I had this actually for one of the first times is the DJ had the cold sparks during their first entrance and first dance. You know, what cold sparks are? Those boxes that can shoot up sparklers, but they're not actual like pyro. So you can't light anything on fire.
Right.
Well, he then brought them out for their exit. So they were in the back of the sparkler exit. Let me tell you something. That's a lot of sparklers.
It's, again, that's another situation of things that are at 2 different exposures.
They were crazy bright. Like, any backlight I had was 9 times exposed over that. Like, it's so bad.
Yeah, it just becomes 2 white blocks behind them because if you expose for that, you can't see the sparklers.
Yeah. And I thought I was like, in theory, I was like, oh, that's actually a good idea because then I get some cool background more. But it was a lot.
I know. They're always more than you think they're going to be.
Yeah.
Like, they're like daytime exposure.
Yeah.
To be honest.
They're like F2. Yeah, especially on first dances too. You got to watch out for that because you're like, you got all your lights perfect for everything, the room for the first dance, and those things come on. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then turning your light down.
Like in our secrets video, count your clicks to 100 and then 100 in the other direction.
Then my camera's steaming because I've turned the clicks so hard and so fast. Smoke coming out of it. Yeah.
All right.
Any other questions you guys have about exits? Did we mention everything?
Let us know.
Please. That was 5 minutes.
It was not.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, what did you shoot this week?
What did I shoot this week? I should look. We're still I'm still in convention season.
Jacob's just going to keep saying that.
I don't know why. It's so weird. But now, and coming up though,
Yeah, you're back in weddings.
we're back in weddings. But for whatever reason, I was just in this kick of conventions. So we're just talking and they're all just documentation. They're not even you're photographing some speakers, you're photographing people doing business, shaking hands and making stocks and whatever business people do. Whatever I don't do, I don't know. And then I had 2 of those. I then actually had to assist someone on a bridal portrait, which I haven't done in a very long time. They needed someone strong, I assume, to make sure everything was going right. It was one of those 2 where the photographer's great. But I don't know if they were like, hey, we need someone on top of that because it's a hard one or recovery. I don't know. I just know they asked me and I'm like, oh. And then I had another freelance wedding. I know. See, that's the start of wedding times. And it was in Maitland. So right where you live, Holy Trinity.
I don't think I've done one there.
Yeah. I think I did one years ago. Sometimes I've said that and they're like, oh, this place opened 2 years ago. Because I have no concept of time. Where was I? I said something. I was like, oh, I haven't been here since COVID. And they're like, well, we opened in 2022. I was like, I'm not lying. I've been here. I just don't have any track of time or space.
Right. Yes, that definitely happens. Well, I'm also not doing weddings yet, even though we're
Peak wedding season.
in peak wedding season any other year.
It is Florida. It's wedding season all year round, to be fair.
Yeah, but this is
But
supposed
this is
to be
still
busy season.
peak season.
Yeah. So I have one of the things I offer for my bar bat mitzvah clients is the ability to do what I call pre-mitzvah session. So it's just a 1-hour portrait session, but they can add it on to their mitzvah photography if they want to have pictures for the program or to use for the sign-in board, or if they're going to make a guest book and they want a photo book that people sign. So whatever purpose. And then sometimes some families just use it to do family photos on a separate day and not stress over them on the day. So I had one of those.
It kind of gives some weight off your shoulders sometimes too. But I don't need to get everything because I have backups.
Right. And so this one is actually going to be at Craft Azalea. So it's actually my first time for my own company
Was.
that I had to shoot at Craft Azalea since they implemented the permits. Every other time I've gone.
You want to hear a crazy fact about Jacob? I've never shot at Craft Azalea.
How?
Because I refuse to deal with the process.
That's why.
With the permits and the...
I know, but I've done a lot of freelance stuff.
It's never come up. And I have no desire to.
Well, this family insisted.
Okay.
They were like, "No, we really want this park." And I was like, "Well, if you like it for this, here are these 17 other ones where I don't have to file a permit."
Yeah.
But anyway, so we did that. So that was nice. And then I have a bridal portrait.
Heyo.
Yep.
Am I assisting you?
I wish. But then I had a bunch of nonprofit stuff. So there was a gala, which I did the gala last year. Standard step and repeat at the beginning, silent auction items, a little bit of a program, a presentation.
It's all the same convention.
Bada bing, bada boom. Basically.
Yeah.
And then, the other one is the...
Should we start a nonprofit? I think I asked you this before.
You did.
I don't know what it does, but they seem to be working very well. So let's look into that.
The problem is the non-profit.
Well, yeah, you can still make money. We can still make money. You just can't make profit. And part of that is our...
That's basically like running a photography business.
I don't make a profit, I'll tell you that much right now. But you still pay yourself. The profit is after payment.
Yes.
So you still got to pay your people that work there, and then there's no profit. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, I feel like it's something we're missing.
But then I also had the Great Strides Walk for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation out at Brevard Zoo.
I've never been to Brevard Zoo.
It's actually a really cool zoo.
I try not to leave Orange County.
They do.
And I try to leave my house.
They did it there last year too. I think they do it every year there. And then I had a brand session for a company.
With the brand photos.
Hey.
We get it.
But it was a company that we did photos for them 2 years ago when they were first launching their business, and they were running everything out of their home. So we kind of they did have their home converted into office space, but we had to really sell it in the pictures. And so now they're in office space with proper signage, and they have new staff and everything. So we're going to do a fresh round of photos for them so they can update their website, all that.
I forgot to mention on my first convention on, was it Sunday or whatever, I had to, it was a rush, so that 110 images, horizontal only, so they could be displayed for later the next day for their, when they show them on TVs throughout the convention space and all the slideshows and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's always fun because you're I don't know, they all look the same to me.
I know. One of the gala, they need pictures delivered by Monday. Or what day are we on?
I don't know.
Whatever. The next business day after, they asked for specific ones to be sent. And it's whichever one you think is best of so-and-so and so-and-so talking. And I'm like...
Yes.
What? What if I don't ever get them talking to someone?
So we're talking about conventions, though. Mm-hmm. People drinking. Mm-hmm. Do you care, if people have drinks in their hand, at a convention or a party like that? It's hey, get together. Because I personally don't care. If, I feel like that's part of the... You have an open bar.
Right.
People are mingling.
Mm-hmm. Right. if... So the one that I'm talking about now, they're not having a bar.
Okay. Well, that's easy then.
They're just serving wine, or they just served wine at the table. And that was it. So because that's their value, it's not, they've removed the ability for the drinks to be in their get together and smile pictures.
This Rush one though is, and it's been like this every year though, where they don't want any photos of people with alcohol.
But they don't serve alcohol.
But they want the mingling photos before the dinner. Mm-hmm. And they're all drinking, but then you have to tell people, hey, get together. Oh, can you put your drinks down? And then if they're there, then I have to move them away from a high boy table. Mm-hmm. And they already don't want their photo taken to begin with. And now I'm making them do more stuff.
And I wish they would do, in situations like that, I wish they would have a step and repeat.
Yeah, exactly.
And they ask everybody to go and get their picture taken there. Because then it's nice and controlled, right? It's obvious you're going to set your drink down beforehand. But yeah,
I don't know if it's obvious. You want to step and repeat.
It's funny to me, too, though, because you can always tell who in a picture was like in a fraternity or sorority because they automatically put the drink behind the other person's back without being prompted. Like they are used to being photographed and concealing their drinking. So.
All right.
Cool.
So non-photography stuff. Mm-hmm. Even though, yeah, it's not photography. All right. Mm-mm. So we talked about exits, which led into like sparklers and nighttime activities. Not that nighttime activity. What is your favorite nighttime spectaculare?
All right. So
well, like anything.
Anything.
Let's just go shows and
fireworks.
Obviously, it's probably going to lean heavy theme park because we do live in a theme park town.
Sure.
And no one puts on a nighttime spectaculare like a theme park. I mean, you know.
So
it's tough going to like a fireworks show like at downtown Winter Garden because you're like, cool. I saw that 12 times at Epcot and it was 1,000% bigger and way better.
And synced to music.
Correct.
Yeah. So I should preface this by saying, for the most part, Ryan and I are not nighttime theme park people.
Oh my God.
We are get there early, do all the stuff we want to do, and like, nah, if we've seen it once, we don't normally stay to see it.
You know what's cool about the nighttime though? There's not a sun.
It's true.
So you should look into it.
It's true. We just tend to be early risers, so we get everywhere as soon as it opens. And so, I will say our favorite happened while we were traveling, while we were on vacation, because then we did stay.
Okay.
So it was the Disneyland Main Street Electric Parade at Tokyo Disneyland.
Also Disneyland in here for what part too.
But I never saw it in either of the parks in the United States. I just saw it there. And I've never seen it anywhere else to know if it was different or not. But it was freaking cool.
Pretty much the same. I think they have a little bit different, but yeah.
Like, those floats were amazing.
It's iconic. Mm-hmm. I saw it at Disneyland many times growing up. Even when it was glowing away forever, and it's come back 16 times since then. They even sold light bulbs. They're like, get a light bulb from the floats. And they're like, sorry, it's back.
Yeah, so that's probably my top favorite.
So 20 years ago, Disneyland celebrated its 50th birthday, which is crazy because it's about to celebrate its 70th birthday. But anyway, they did their 50th anniversary, which was a huge celebration, and they debuted a fireworks show called Remember, Dreams Come True or something. And it was a weird show because the fireworks were, the first part and the finale were wishes from Magic Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
Literally, like they started the show wishes, and they ended the show with wishes. So you're kind of like, But the entire middle portion of the show was basically a run through Disneyland's history and all the attractions. And it was the first time too they started adding in I don't know if you've been to Disneyland since then, but the Matterhorn does pyro, and then Tinkerbell, unlike our Tinkerbell where it just slides down a rope, their Tinkerbell actually is on a pulley system. She flies.
Right.
She flies, but the system goes back and forth, and she can go up and down. So you know the scene from I don't know the original black and white Disneyland where Tinkerbell flies over the castle and she can do that.
Whoa.
And then they sink fireworks right off the roof behind her. So she's like, boop, boop, boop. Now they use that same system. They still use Tinkerbell, but some shows will have they've done Dumbo, they've done Zero from Nightmare Before Christmas, they've done Baymax. They can do anything. But it started with that with Tinkerbell. And then they went through the years of all the attractions. So the Tiki Room got an attraction, but some of my favorites, this is before they had Star Wars, but they had Star Tours. They did a Star Tours and they started putting pyro on the hub around. So they didn't do 360 like Magic Kingdom sometimes does, but they were in the hub. So if you stood in the hub, they had these, they would just shoot straight up, and they did a Haunted Mansion is this room stretching and all the fireworks around you went up. It was so cool. And then for Pirates, the Matterhorn and the castle had a cannonball fight where they shot pyro off the Matterhorn and cannonball in sync to the music, and then the castle was shooting it back at it.
That's wild.
It was the best show. It was so good. I loved it. And again, it was nostalgic. It was 50th. It was going over attractions that had gone, some that were still there. So that was one of my all-time favorite shows. Remember. But then it was weird because then it was it was actually just wishes at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it still worked.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think my favorite fireworks here was Illuminations
It's so good.
at Epcot. It was just such a good show. But then there was some of the nostalgia factor too, because I had seen it when it first came out.
Sure.
When I was like a kid. I mean, a teenager still.
In 1999.
Yeah, like it was on a family trip. Mm-hmm. And then to come back years later as an adult and see it again, and then even more years later and see it as an adult. It was just a good show.
It was.
And like it embodied Epcot and what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And then they had, the abomination that was Harmonious.
No, first there was Epcot Forever.
I don't count that because that was it was a temporary show.
Called Epcot Forever.
It was still temporary.
Why? Why would you name a temporary show Forever?
That's a good point.
Sorry. It just always bugged me.
But it wasn't bad. Like, it was enough to be nostalgia. But it was better than Harmonious. And the new show is growing on me. What's it called? Lumen? Symphony of Us. It's not as good as Illuminations, but it's still better than the one before.
I couldn't tell you. I think I've photographed it once, and I've not watched it other than the time that I photographed it. So I obviously have no idea what happened. I just paid attention to the couple and pressed the button a lot.
Probably not as many good, like, fireworks. Like, good. Like, it's a tougher show to photograph. It's a lot of low level. And if you're ever somewhere else like Boardwalk or Swan and Dolphin, there's not a lot of big up top fireworks. Mm-hmm. So it really doesn't come through well if you're not at Epcot. But
yeah,
it's still pretty good. But, all the 50th shows were real bad. What was the Magic Kingdom one? That they did Happily Ever After, which is a great show. Mm-hmm. And then they did the 50th one, which was horrible.
I never even saw it, I don't think.
I photographed it a couple of times. And then they brought back Happily Ever After because it's a good show. It's a good song. That's an all timer for a fireworks casserole show.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be tough to ever get. I thought Wishes, like the actual Wishes show, was great, and then the music was great. And then the first time I heard Happily Ever After, I was like, nope, that's the banger.
The music is really.
I don't know if they're ever gonna be able to. They're gonna riot. The song is too good.
Yeah.
To ever change it's too good. It's just too good.
So, my friend who lives in Arizona was visiting and happened to catch the window of time with the last Wishes show and the first Happily Ever After show.
Nice.
So we were going and meeting them in the park on our days off, like during their trip. And they asked us, like, if we wanted to go to see Happily Ever After. And normally, like we said, Ryan and I don't like crowding things on day one.
Yeah.
Or early at all. Like, we don't want to deal with the chaos. It'll still be here a year later
Correct.
when no one else is watching it. But because my friend was here and we wanted to spend time with her, we decided to go. And then, of course, they had gone to, like, Disney's, like, the Hangar Bar. And they were coming to Disney, or to Magic Kingdom after that. And they're like, oh, can you save us spots? Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, we cannot save room for 8 of you to watch Happily Ever After. Are you kidding me? And so then, because, again, they were traveling, we tried to kind of corral a little space. And they, we all crammed into this little spot. But we let them have, like, the better view. So my first time watching Happily Ever After, I was, like, bent over a trash can with a tree. And I was, like, watching it like this.
It's perfect.
Epic. I was so annoyed. But
have you ever you've seen our Fantasmic? What do you think about MGM Studios? Hollywood Studios, good lord. Hollywood Studios Fantasmic.
I liked it. We did it for my birthday one year.
Have you seen Disneyland's?
No.
Oh. Because ours is hot garbage, if you've seen Disneyland's. Disneyland's is so good.
No. I did, though, the year that we were going to Hollywood Studios for my birthday. And the day before that, I was working a job with Mickey himself. And I mentioned that I was going to Hollywood Studios for my birthday. And he he kept going like this and, like, raising his arms up. And I was like, I don't understand. And the character attendant was like, he's telling you to go watch him at Fantasmic for your birthday. And I was like, oh, of course. So we did. We went to see him.
I'm going to tell you some fun Phantasma stories. So I've been on that stage. Mm-hmm. So when I worked attractions in Sunset Boulevard, which included Tower Coaster and the operation portion of Fantasmic, so the people that basically tell you to, like, what row they're putting you in and stroller parking, all that is done by attractions operations. Mm-hmm. So when I became a coordinator, you had to be trained on every attraction. I'd already been trained at Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror, but I had to go be trained at Fantasmic because you could be a coordinator up there. And so I was being trained by the other coordinator or the trainers, and so the daytime, Fantasmic always does a dry run show. You never know that because it's not loud, but they do everything, but there's no characters, but they do make sure all the lifts work, make sure all the water screens work, make sure the fire pyro works, and all the audio and lighting works. Even though it's during the daytime, so you can't really see it, they still just do a full dry run through every single day. So he took us on there and said, hey, do you want to, they'll let you go in the lifts and stuff. And I was like, what? Yeah. So we go down, you go back behind it, and there's stairs down into the pit. You're like, I don't know, I want to say 8 feet, maybe 7 feet below the stage. And Mickey is in a plexiglass square tube. It's a tube, but it's a square. And that's where the trap door comes down, and you step into it. And so there's 2 little buttons on the floor, and you put both your feet on that. And the techs are like, all right, so it's going to shoot you up. Like, you can start hearing the music. Whatever you do, all you have to do is just take your foot off, one or both. It'll stop it immediately. He's like, if you think you're going to fall, don't put your hands out because it'll rip your freaking hands off. Oh, all you got to do is literally just like, if you think you're going to fall, you just lean forward and the pressure points and you'll stop. So I'm freaking out. So I'm, again, like 8 feet under. It's daytime, but I'm in there. And you hear like, imagination, dun, dun, dun. And then they're like 3, 2, 1. And that thing just goes like that. Like you come. Whoa. I don't know how Mickey does it. But like my feet came off the ground and then I landed back on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't know, like I probably was I was real low too. I'm sure after a while you kind of get it. You don't need to do it. Yeah. So then I'm like, now I'm on the stage and the show's going, like the water fountains are going and I'm just kind of like, ha ha ha. And then, but no one told me where to go. So I start walking to like the right and then I hear the voice of God from the tech booth go, Mo. And I was like, this way. Okay. I'll go this way. And then, so then we're still in there and, you know, they pull out the dragon, they do the whole thing. And then they're like, well, do you want to go into Maleficent's one or do you want to go to the finale one? And I was like, I want to go to the finale one. So they strap me up. So I go to climb to the top of the mountain. They strap me in. You're in like a ejection seat, really. It's almost like you're standing, but there's you've been on a stand-up roller coaster. It's kind of like that, where you have like a weird seat, but you're really standing. Yeah. And they're like, so you're going to go up there, like they raise you up just so your head is almost like at the top of the mountain. And then when the big finale happens, you just kind of go, boop. And they're like, now you technically can be seen up there, so don't do anything inappropriate. And then I was like, okay, so it's like, boom, and you hear the music. There's no pyro. There's no fireworks, and it's daytime, but you still hear the music. It's still pretty cool. You're up that tall. But then they didn't tell me, and then they just go all the way down. So from like the 10 feet, they slowly raised you, and then they were like, like, I didn't tell me that.
Craziest attraction in Hollywood Studios.
Yeah, but it was pretty cool. Pretty cool experience.
That is cool.
So I don't know how many people have gotten to do those. Probably a lot now, but
yeah.
That's my Fantasmic story.
I wish that we had any of the drone shows that like Disneyland Paris has.
I know.
Because they look
They're going nuts over there with those drones.
I know. And when we were there, the winds were too high and we couldn't, like I went to the Guardians of the Galaxy show. Ryan was sick, so he was at the hotel and I came back by myself and waited an hour to watch the show. It's a projection on the tower and then the drone show out next to it. And the winds were too high. And they announced it like 3 minutes before the show started that the drones wouldn't be flying. So they just did projections and like it was just a few little pyro things. And I was like, well, this is the worst show I've ever seen.
I get why they don't do it at Disneyland because they're in they're surrounded by neighborhoods. Yeah. And it gets real windy off there. Their fireworks cancels all the time because it may not be windy here, but they have winds coming off those mountains. So it's like 100 feet in the air. It's crazy windy. So I don't think they'd ever be able to use them consistently, but I don't understand. I mean, they've done it here at Disney Springs.
Yeah, I know. And I get, too, like, why it wouldn't happen in Japan, because their fireworks we never saw fireworks while we were there, because they got canceled for winds
but here,
both days. But here, we're, like, insulated. I don't know.
You can throw them behind Magic Kingdom. They could all crash behind Magic Kingdom, and you wouldn't hit a single thing. There's so much land out there.
I know. But they look so good.
Looks so
Paris.
good.
So good in Paris.
All right.
Okay. Anything else?
Imagination.
My favorite.
Okay, I'm gonna exit. Why don't you show me off in an exit?
Woo!
I'm outta here.
Woo!
I just got my